Hi guys, it's Amy and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. I hope that you're doing well. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. I finally have unpacked my books and they are on the shelf. I am still looking for a box, actually 2 boxes of books. They're buried somewhere amongst the things from my living room and stuff like that, but most of them are up. I've got mine over here and then the other side is my husband's books. It's kind of split up. We have like an Alex drawer right here. There's some other books on top of that, but I have just tried to do like a his and her side. We're still kind of figuring out the layout of the studio. It's very different from our previous place. So yeah, we're just figuring it out, but I'm excited that I finally have my books. It feels a little bit more like home now. But today we are doing a few different things. We're doing the August reading wrap up. I only have 4 books, so that's why I am doing a little bit more in this video because it would be really short. But we're doing our wrap up anticipated fall releases, which I plan to read in the next few months. And then my basically like hopeful fall TBR, which I've actually already read one of the books. So I'm off to a good start. But I hope that you are looking forward to this video. I definitely am. So get a drink, get a snack, or have lunch, whatever time of day it is for you, and let's settle in and let's have a good time chatting about books. And definitely let me know in the comments as we're getting into this what your favorite book of August was. Like I said, I only read 4 books this month. It was just kind of a crazy month with moving in, dealing with life stuff. My family dog passed away. She was like 13 years old, but it was still really sad. And on top of that, dealing with like health stuff. It was just a lot of personal things. So I just didn't get around to as many books, but I had some really quality reads. So I am excited to talk about them. And first up is Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne, and that is the sequel to his Bloodsworn saga, and I really enjoyed this book. This series has definitely been a different one for me. I have not really read any like Norse mythology based books or anything like that, but I have really enjoyed it so far. There are some really great characters in there. I really liked how Gwyn just really expanded the world and kind of the chaotic magic, especially with the gods and everything in this second book. And it just felt like, okay, we're growing and we are going somewhere. And the ending of this book was crazy. I came like storming into the studio. My husband was working from home that day and I was like, what just happened? He has read the series already and he was like, you gotta hang in there, get to book 3. And I was just like, oh. I was upset, but I'm not going to tell you why. I really enjoy how John Gwynne just kind of balances everything really well because we have some pretty complex but really strong relationships between characters. And we also have like combat and battles. There's also some humor in there. I feel like everything is just really well balanced. And even though sometimes I feel like his writing can be a little bit dry for my personal taste, I still feel like it really fits the kind of like Viking Norse god theme that he has going on. And just the way he, again, balances everything, it works, even though I do feel like it can be a bit dry. I think my favorite characters have been Orca and Varg, and just seeing how fierce of fighters they are, and they stand for what's right and everything, even though they can be a bit morally gray and everything, but they have definitely been standout characters for me. But I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it and can't wait for the 3rd book, Fury of the Gods. The second book I finished, I actually think I'm going to save for last because it was my favorite read. So I'm going to move on to a manga that I read, and that is The Flying Witch by Chihiro Ishizuka. And this was a kind of cute, cozy slice of life sort of manga where we're following a witch who moves to the countryside to live with some of her extended family in order to train to become a witch. And it was really cute. The characters were endearing and I really enjoyed kind of just the cozy everyday life feel of it. But I felt like the stories were a little bit disjointed. It was like each chapter within the single volume was a different story, kind of progressing as she's like moving in and getting used to life there. But within each story, it was like you'd go to the next page and it had just like jumped. and you're like, what's going on? It just felt kind of disjointed. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. So I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series. I borrowed this from my library, but it's also on the Hoopla app. If you are a manga or graphic novel fan, definitely check out Hoopla through your library. It is a really great resource to get all of those things. And you get to borrow like 3 books from Hoopla every month. So it's not a ton. There are some things that they include for like a bonus borrow, I think is what they call it. But definitely if you want to get a few manga in, check out Hoopla. But I rated this 3.5 stars. It was really cute and cozy. I liked the magic realism in there. It had some funny moments, but I'm still kind of on the fence whether I want to continue with it. In the Company of Witches by Aurora Lee Wallace. This was a little bit different for me. This is kind of a cozy mystery with witchy magic. And I had seen it kind of around the internet book community on Book Talk and YouTube, and I was really surprised to see a cozy mystery getting some buzz. And the ones that I had read previously just were kind of cheesy and very predictable to me, but this one was actually really good, and I think the witchy magic really adds something to it. This is following a female witch who lives with her aunts and an uncle who are also witches, and how she kind of like solves these murder mysteries in her small town. It was really impressive how each character was really well fleshed out. They had these great backstories, and even like the small side characters that were throughout the town really were well built out, and I think that just made the mystery that much more compelling. And it was kind of like following this like family drama of like siblings fighting over a will. It definitely felt like a realistic situation, so I think that kind of grounded it even more. But it was equal parts funny and cute, a little bit of witchy magic. There were some heartfelt moments just because of things that people have gone through in the past or dealing with the murder. But I really enjoyed this, and I'm actually listening to the second book right now. I am almost done with it, but I wasn't able to finish it and squeeze it in before filming this today, but that's totally okay. I'll save it for next month. But I am really enjoying this series, and I heard that the author may not be continuing it, so I'm a little disappointed about that, but fingers crossed that they will. But I gave this 3.5 stars, and I am not sure how I feel about the second book yet, but I will let you know when I finish it. All right, my final book on this list and my favorite book of the month was The Bone Ship's Wake by R.J. Barker. This is the third and final book of her Tide Child trilogy. It is always difficult for me to say that. But this was such a great series, and this third book, it definitely was like the shining, like, best book of the series, but I think it is only the best book because of what was built out in the previous 2 books. So I definitely think as a whole, the series is fantastic, but I feel like each individual book, it just went deeper and deeper, and I really appreciated that. I didn't feel like there was any kind of slump or anything like that. It does like ebb and flow with the writing and, you know, the tension of the story and everything. I wasn't a huge fan of some of the choices, but, you know, you're kind of just trusting the author to take you on a journey, and sometimes it's not always going to go the way you expected. And sometimes that's better, because if it's exactly what you expect, you know, it's like, okay, I don't feel like I went on a journey. I just kind of went on a familiar walk, you know? So it really depends on how you feel about those sort of things, but it definitely was an unexpected story. So it wasn't necessarily like each book wasn't a perfect book. This wasn't a perfect book to me. I rated this 4.5 stars, but it was still phenomenal. And, you know, we have more magic, more of the found family, more character development. It just all kind of reached this climactic point, and it was just so good. And I think the thing that shines for me the most is the found family and the relationships. You've had these characters build out these relationships over the course of the series. So in the third book, you're really getting to see them shine and just how deep they have gotten. And it was just like all the feels. So definitely was like the highlight of the books. But there's so much more going on in this series, and especially in this third book, there was, you know, epic battles. Again, we have more magic and, you know, the sea dragons and the talking birds, the Galame and the Windshorn. If you know, you know. And it's just, there's just It was so good. It was so good. And the ending, it was one of those like you stare at the wall, blank stare, just numb at the end. It was that kind of ending. It was like I'm still processing it. Every time it comes up, if I'm talking to my husband, because he hasn't read the third book yet, I'm just like I'm still processing that ending. And that was like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So so it definitely was a lot, but I really, really loved this series. I definitely want to check out more of R.J. Barker's books. I have recently become aware of some more of her writing, so I definitely want to check those out. And if you have read any of her other books, definitely let me know in the comments. But again, this was just a fantastic series and I definitely recommend. August is definitely what I consider a transition month in the year. It's like the in-between of summer and fall. And now going into September, October, November, it is definitely going to be the fall season. And there are some really great fall fantasy releases coming out that I think are going to be perfect reads for this time of year. And the first one is The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. So this comes out October 28th of this year, and it's described as a genre-defying quest through time where a historian and a legendary lady knight must rewrite legend and history itself. And apparently this is like the year for like lady knight books. I have heard talk of a few other ones, so if that piques your interest, there's another one to add to your list. I think my most anticipated release is The Strength of the Few by James Islington. This is the sequel to his Will of the Many book. I absolutely loved that book. I am seeing people get arcs of Strength of the Few and they are saying it's just mind-blowing, and I'm like, I needed this book yesterday. I am so excited about this book. But it is supposed to come out November 11th of this year, and of course the highly anticipated sequel promising epic magic, political intrigue, and moral complexity. I cannot wait. I am just chomping at the bit for this book. Another one of my highly anticipated books is Brigands and Bread Knives by Travis Baldree. This is the third book in his Legends and Lattes series, and this is supposed to be kind of a continuation after Legends and Lattes, but it's bringing in characters from bookshops and Bone Dust, which I think was an interesting twist for Baldree to choose. So this releases November 11th, and it's a cozy fantasy follow-up where our favorite bookseller messes with chaos goblin bounties, hangovers, and surprisingly deep adventure. That sounds like a great time, and if you know what character we're talking about, I am definitely looking forward to seeing more of this character and their story. My last anticipated release is by one of my favorite authors, and that is Adrienne Young. I have her Fable series right here, but this is supposed to be another YA fantasy release for her, and that is Fallen City. This is coming out November 4th of this year. It is a gritty, romantic YA fantasy of rebellion, divine destiny, and two lovers on the opposite sides of a holy war. That sounds epic. It sounds like it's going to be a really fun time, and I'm really looking forward to it. Those are all of my anticipated fall releases for this year. So let's get into my cross your fingers, hopeful fall TBR for the next couple of months. So I've kind of broken this up. I've got some priority reads that I definitely need to check off, and I have some hopefuls. I have checked off a book off of this list already, so, you know, props for me. But that is In the Company of Witches, which I read this month. So I'm off to a good start, but let's get into my priority reads. A book that I have put off way, way, way too long is Labyrinth's Heart by M.A. Carrick. This is the third and final book of the Rook and Rose trilogy. It is dark, it is brooding, there's a lot of political intrigue. I am really excited to finish this trilogy. Another third book of a trilogy, Fury of the Gods, which I mentioned earlier. It's the epic Bloodsworn finale, Norse-inspired battles and gods. A book that I think is going to be perfect for the fall is Babel by R.F. Kuang, and this is a dark academia with magic featuring language study and I have heard really good things about it. Everybody seems to kind of rave about it, so I am definitely looking forward to it. And a newer release by an author who I surprisingly have really enjoyed, and that is The Bewitching by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. They tend to write more kind of horror leaning books, which is not really my forte, but I just really enjoy their writing. And this is a historical gothic fantasy with her signature sort of atmosphere. So I am definitely looking forward to this. We've got some witches, and it just sounds like it's going to be a good time. All right, let's get into my hopefuls for the upcoming months. Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. My Hobb journey has definitely been an interesting one. It has been kind of on the back burner for a while, unfortunately. My husband and I have been reading this series together, The Realm of the Elderlings, and we have been stuck on Ship of Destiny for a very long time. I am hoping, this is like Labor Day weekend, so a 3-day weekend, I'm hoping that we can squeeze in like the ending that we're at. Crossing my fingers, but I'm hoping that we can get it done sooner rather than later, because I would like to try to continue to move on with The Realm of the Elderlings. But this is basically a start of another series, and that is Fool's Errand, which is starting the Coneyman trilogy, I believe is what it's called. So we are getting the return of our favorite character, Fitz, from the Farseer trilogy, if you're familiar with Hobb's universe. But we got to finish Ship of Destiny first. So bully me and bully my husband in the comments for us to finish this book. Another book that I think is going to be perfect for the fall time is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is supposed to be a lush and gothic fairy tale of love and secrets. I have heard that it's creepy and perfect for the fall time. I don't think it's fall without some T. Kingfisher, so I chose What Moves the Dead, and this is supposed to be like a creepy Edgar Allan Poe retelling with mushrooms and body horror. I love Edgar Allan Poe. If you didn't watch my fall recommendations, my previous video, I talk about him, but this definitely sounds fantastic. I've got a couple of classics on here, and first up is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This is, of course, the famous kind of gothic sci-fi. It's supposed to be like the first sci-fi, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I've never read it before. Another classic that I feel like has become more to like the forefront of the literary world in the last few years is Carmilla, which is supposed to be like the predecessor of Dracula. It's actually supposed to be like the first vampire novel, and this is by J. Sheridan Le Fanu. I hope I'm saying that right. So this is a vampire novella. It's gothic and it's sapphic and it's ahead of its time. So I am definitely interested in reading it. I'm not a big vampire person, but it's a short read, so I think it'll be a fun time. My last classic on this list is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And this I know has kind of creepy vibes to it, but it's about decadence and vanity and moral corruption, all about a man who becomes obsessed with the painting. And I actually kind of started it already. It's been a little bit on the back burner recently, but hopefully we'll dive back into it. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is her latest release, and this is like a dark romantic fantasy, and if you don't know, she's the author of One Dark Window. This is supposed to be really kind of like the creepy vibes that she has in her previous duology, and there have been mixed reviews about it, but I'm excited to try it out. A book that I want to try that's first of a series is Clean Sweep by Ilona Andrews. This is a little bit of an older book, but it's a cozy urban fantasy with magical innkeepers, and it sounds really cute. Another older fantasy, Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. This is a lyrical retelling of the Six Swans fairy tale. I am not familiar with that, but I have heard a lot of good things about this book. Another T. Kingfisher. This is Paladin's Grace. It's a cozy, funny romantic fantasy with a paladin and a perfumer. I actually kind of like soft DNF this, I think last year, and I want to try it again, and I've heard just really good things about it. A graphic novel, Garlic and the Witch by Brie Paulson. I read the previous book to this, Garlic and the Vampire, and it was super cute, but this is like a sweet, wholesome, middle grade graphic novel with like sentient vegetables. It is just a cute and cozy time. I do have a couple of rom-coms on this list. First up is Love and Other Conspiracies by Mallory Marlowe. This is a rom-com with secrets and swoons. It definitely sounds like an interesting and fun time and perfect for the spooky season. Coffee in an Alternate Universe by C.B. Lee. I read their book A Clash of Steel, which was like a YA retelling of Treasure Island, and I really enjoyed that. This is a cozy queer romance with a speculative twist. Last on the list is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sengu Mandana. This is the second in their kind of cozy, witchy fantasy books. It's whimsical and cozy fantasy with found family. So I kind of started it, again, another soft DNF. I think it's just like waiting for the right time to read it, but definitely looking forward to this one. Alright guys, those are all of my hopeful TBR books, and that is going to be it for me today. I hope that you enjoyed this and maybe gave you some ideas of books to read in the fall, in addition to my video from last week. I didn't even think about it kind of being like that, but I, again, hope that you enjoyed this. I really just enjoy talking about books, what I've read, what I plan to read with you guys, and definitely let me know, again, your favorite book of August and maybe a book or two that you plan to read in the fall months. But that is going to be it for me today. Thanks you guys for joining me. Leave me a little fall emoji, like a leaf or maybe like a spooky emoji or something like that, to let me know that you watched to the end. I really appreciate it. So thank you for being here, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!